And I like to answer that because, you know, I'm not like Justin Trudeau or Andrew Scheer. I'm answering questions. That was about how are you doing with your party? And, you know, I'm very, very happy with what's happening because tomorrow we will celebrate our 6th month. So we created that party the 14th of September last year. And up to now, we have more than 36,000 members. So, and as you know, in the house, I'm sitting at the back near Elizabeth May. She's my seatmate. She's a nice lady. We had a deal together. I said, Elizabeth, I don't want to speak politics with you because we're going to fight. I don't want to fight. So she said, okay, Maxime, we won't have any discussion, political discussion. I said, okay. But I said, can I ask some question about your party? I said, you know, the Green Party of Canada, when did you create the party? And she said, 35 years ago. And I asked her, how many members do you have after 35 years? She said, 19,000 members. So we're doing great with 36,000 members.
Right on, man.
And that was the beginning in September. And that was important for us to have a lot of members all across the country. And actually, if you look at with the population in Canada, like you know, Alberta represents about 11% of the population of our country. But our membership from Alberta represents 16% of our membership. So that's
right on.
We are a real national party. We have members all across the country. And so what we did before December, we worked with our members and we created Riding Association. And now we have Riding Association, EDAs, in every riding in this country.
Great. Great work, bud.
And the next step for us, it is to have candidates for the next election. So we are working right now with our Riding Association, and the goal is to start to look for candidates next week. And our goal is to have almost all our candidates before the end of June. So like that, we'll be ready for the summertime, and everybody will campaign during the summer and up to the election, the 21st of October. But also what we want to do, we want to be ready for the next election. So we will have a conference in Ottawa. Our executive of our EDAs and our candidates will be invited, and people who want to come in Ottawa for 2 days, a conference about our program, our platform. Election Canada will come and brief our people to be sure that we understand the legislation. So it will be a 2 days conference in Ottawa. And after that, everybody will be ready for the next election. But we are able to do that because we have faith in people. We have faith that you have the ability, the dignity, and the right to make the right decision for your own life. We don't believe in a big fat government in Ottawa. And we believe in a government that will respect the Constitution. And we were able to build this party because of our 4 principles: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. And we will work hard to be sure that Canadians understand our principles. And for us, there's no compromise with our principles. All our policies are based on these 4 principles. And I think that's why we're able to attract people that are coming from different backgrounds. Yes, we have with us a former conservative that believe in free markets. You know, the Conservative Party of Canada, I thought they were believing in free markets, but they want to keep a cartel for milk, poultry, and eggs, and that will cost us twice that our friends in the US are paying for milk, poultry, and eggs, and it is costing a Canadian family $800 a year. But they want to protect the cartel of supply management, like the Liberals, like the NDP, like the Green. They want to work with 19,000 producers under supply management, and they don't want to work with 36 million Canadians. So we are the party. We want to work with. So for us, our principle, it is not a slogan, it is not buzzword, it is something that we believe in. And we won't do any compromise. And you know, I have a speech that I delivered in French in Quebec a couple of years ago about pipelines and equalization. And that was very popular in Quebec. I said what I believe in. I said that we must follow the Constitution. And I just want to take some time to deliver that speech to you, because it's important. And I think you want to know what is our position on pipelines, what is our position on equalization. That's very different than the traditional political parties. So, it is obvious that many Albertans have lost faith in our country. They have lost faith in the ability of the federal government and traditional political parties to solve their problems and answer their needs. The federal government itself is simply afraid to use its power to impose national solutions because it does not want to use the power that there in the Constitution to impose the real solution for being sure that we'll have pipelines in this country. And this is not what the father of our Constitution had intended. The objective of our Constitution, the 1867 Act, was not to subordinate provincial governments to a central authority or the central authority to regional wings, but rather to have sovereign provinces within the limits of their powers, dealing with local matters that directly affected citizens, and a sovereign federal government within the limits of its own powers, dealing with matters of national interest. And my focus today is on Ottawa's failure to use its authority to adopt the right economic policies for the whole country, whether we are talking about pipeline construction or equalization. It's absolutely essential that we address these issues, and we must be sure that our friends in other provinces understand the importance of these issues. When it comes to pipeline construction, there have been so many bad decisions on the part of the Trudeau government that it is hard to know where to begin. But let me summarize them. Upon taking office in 2015, the Trudeau government imposed a ban on all tanker traffic on the north coast of British Columbia with Bill C-48, effectively killing the Northern Gateway Pipeline project. Yeah. And a year later, the government officially rejected the pipeline. And Bill C-48, which is still in the Senate, will also prevent the construction of another pipeline, Eagle Spirit. That's a $12 billion investment project that could provide First Nations with a golden opportunity for economic development. there are no reason to ban tankers on the north coast of British Columbia, but not on the south coast or on the Canadian east coast or on the St. Lawrence River.
That's right.
What we should do is to adopt the best measures to prevent spills, contain them, and rapidly clean up if they do happen.
Yes.
But this government is not really concerned with balancing economic growth, economic development with environmental protection. It is concerned about balancing vote buying among certain groups and regions with vote buying in other groups and regions.
That's right.
And that's sad. That's really sad. Another deal, Bill C-69, will negatively impact not just energy projects such as pipelines, but other industries as well, like mining, forestry, and port expansion. It will make everything much complex and difficult to build. Any group not directly affected by a project will be allowed to intervene, multiplying the number of opponents. That's the bill that requires projects to be analyzed based on, and I quote the bill, the intersection of sex and gender with other identity factors.
What a joke!
Whatever that means.
It's a joke is what it is. It's killing our province too.
Project development in Canada if this bill is adopted. Investors will just go elsewhere. Many of them have already left. The National Energy Board then decided in 2017 to consider upstream and downstream emissions from the Energy East pipeline that it was reviewing. This would have required the company to account for entire climate warming impact of the project, including during construction and operation of the pipeline and from oil shipped on the pipeline. It made no sense, and a few months later, TransCanada predictably canceled its project. Finally, there is a Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion project. Here again, the investor got cold feet after years of uncertainty, and the government bought it for $4.5 billion last May.
With our CPP money.
Yes,
And nobody asked them to buy it.
one disaster after another. It is costing us tens of billions of dollars in lost investment, as well as tens of thousands of lost jobs. But to go back to our problems with the way our country works, there is even more insidious aspect to this situation. It is the idea that Ottawa does not really have the power to get these projects approved. Justin Trudeau said that, and I'm quoting him, while governments grant permits for resource development, only communities can grant permission.
No.
But that cannot be true. There never is unanimity on anything. That's why we have a federal government.
Yeah.
The purpose of having a country is to have a level of political authority where we can debate, coordinate, and if necessary, impose, yes, impose decisions that are in the national interest of our country.
Right on, Mark.
And if we don't use this power, what's the point of being one country?
Exactly.
Of course, we must consult. Of course, we must try to accommodate as many people and community as possible. Of course, we must answer as many security and environmental concerns as possible, but there has to be an authority within the federal state, and that's the federal government.
Yeah.
So, during the debate about Energy East, you could have believed that the Montreal mayor, Denis Coderre, remember him? Had the authority to block the project just by himself. And more recently, the newly elected Quebec Premier, François Legault, implied that he too could block a project for a national pipeline when he said that there was no social acceptability for it in Quebec. That's just not true. A recent poll done by the Montreal Economic Institute showed again that a majority, yes, a majority of Quebecers prefer to get the oil from Western Canada rather than from that pipelines are the safest way to transport it. But more importantly, neither the city of Montreal, nor the Quebec government, nor the BC government, nor single Aboriginal communities have the power to block the construction of a national pipeline.
Hey, that's right.
It's a decision to be made by the federal government. So, here is what I propose to do to make sure that we can build pipelines again in this country, and that the development of our oil resources once again brings prosperity